Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to our series of interviews on retiredunited.com of distinguished Sri Lankans living both in Sri Lanka and abroad. As you know, we have interviewed 5 such distinguished people so far. Today, we are breaking from our usual pattern of interviewing medics by interviewing a distinguished non-medic, but a world-class pioneer, a world-class entrepreneur, and a world-class visionary. He has a tenuous link to medicine in that his father was a GP who worked all over in Sri Lanka and ended up working in his own clinic in Boralasgamua, the late Dr. Kulapala. So welcome to this interview, Beshan, and we are deeply privileged to be able to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. A little bit about Beshan. He studied in Colombo, did his primary and secondary education in Colombo, and then went to the United States where he obtained a BSc in 2001 at the University of Kentucky. He then moved over to the Arizona State University where he did an MSc in electrical engineering, followed up with a PhD in electrical engineering in 2008, again from Arizona State University. He moved slightly laterally into management then, and he did an MBA, which I'm sure stood him in very good stead when he started his companies, again from the Arizona State University in 2012. He started working for the Intel Corporation in California soon after, and then became the co-founder of the validation core unit at Intel Corporation. He left all that in 2013 to come to Sri Lanka to set up as the director and co-founder of Vega Innovations in 2013. He's also attached to CodeGen International, which is the parent company of Vega, and also of ChargeNet, which is an electrical vehicle charging company, and also AI Glow, which deals with artificial intelligence in agriculture. And he's a research scientist in CodeGen International, looking after all those aspects of his work. So that's an impressive CV, Beshan. And I'd like to start off this interview by asking you, what really motivates you? Is it seeing your pioneering ideas come to fruition? Is it the money? Is it protecting the environment? Or just a sense of personal satisfaction of achieving these impressive targets?
Once again, thank you for that lovely introduction. Really, from my younger years, I've been very, when we talk about Sri Lanka, we talk about our history 2000 years ago to showcase our technology, what we had done in Sigiri and all of that. Although that's amazing work, I feel very tired of talking about 2000-year-old history when we should be getting involved and doing something new. So that is really my primary motivation. It's to showcase that Sri Lanka can do amazing things with the youngsters that we have, and that we don't have to leave the country or do it in America or Australia or somewhere else to do these amazing things. It can be done here, and knowing that and showing that with a bunch of young engineers from around Sri Lanka, it gives me great satisfaction. So I think that is what my primary motivation is.
Well, that's very clear. That's very laudable, Beshan, and you've done it actually in a very practical sense, because you studied in the States, got all your qualifications, did all your research in Arizona, and then with Intel, and then you came back. You came back to Sri Lanka to establish all these laudable stuff that you have done. But how do you explain the sheer breadth of your interests in innovation? You're doing artificial intelligence, you're developing ventilators on the other hand, and then you're also developing a prototype of the Vega, which is an electric car. How do you explain the breadth of all your interests?
So, to be honest, there is a large team behind me that has a passion to change the world and do amazing things. So I don't take credit for most of the amazing work that comes out of this team. uh, I'm more of a person that tries to guide them and get the best out of them. So all credit goes to them. But in terms of what we do, in terms of the broadness of what we do, we have been focused on uh, doing technologies that adds higher USPs, and we have not really gone after the low cost technologies, because it's very hard to compete with countries like China and India on the more consumer low cost stuff, when we don't have the natural resources and the machinery to do things at a lower cost. So we have been looking at, what makes sense, what gives us the best USP, and what is really important for the people. So if you take electric vehicles, electric vehicle charging, and then food safety, those are key problems that the world faces right now. So if we can build technologies that has a higher value for those, then I think that would give us a better, a safe product to go after. So that's why we've been focused on these.
So what you're in effect saying is that there is a unifying theme, despite appearing to be quite disparate in the type of
Yes.
thing that you do. That's right, isn't it?
Definitely, yes. And really, we have because of the electric car Vega, we put a very multidisciplinary team together. Mechanical engineers, electrical, electronics, then product engineers, like design engineers who would draw the system, who would know what the user interfaces would look like. So this team is very flexible. It's not really an automotive focused team. I mean, none of them have worked in an automotive company before. So we are able to take our expertise and go do something else very quickly and come back to our core values. So that has shown that we can go and build a charger, we can go and build a advanced greenhouse, but still able to compete with the kind of the competition that we have.
So you have a team which is very versatile and
Mhm.
can in effect multitask. They can do several things at the same time
Yes,
and
yes,
not stick to one
yes.
project. Yeah.
No, I think that is, if we have some core expertise, core values, I think that is exactly what we have. A very nimble, very flexible group of youngsters who are passionate about doing new things and new technologies. So we are able to do all of these things in a easier fashion by keeping our overheads low and team sizes small.
So that's very clear. You've got a really good team which you have resourced locally. These are local girls and boys who are
Mhm.
very focused on what they're doing. But are you now proposing to do all your projects with local raw materials, local expertise, and local funding, or are you planning to go abroad?
No, I think Sri Lanka is too small to do, to grow and become a bigger enterprise kind of a thing where we can really change the culture of Sri Lanka. So what we have shown is that we can do prototype design and engineering at a very low cost. But to get to the next step of building hundreds of thousands of vehicles or charges, we have to go international. So we are always looking for partners around the world to kind of help us to get to the next step. There is not enough volume or not enough investment in Sri Lanka to get us to that point.
So you're looking for investment even now.
Definitely, yes, yes.
Okay.
So, to be honest, we took the Vega car to Geneva to get that world exposure, to show our technology to the world and the investors and other car companies, so that they'll be interested to come to Sri Lanka, maybe set up shop here, or partner with us. But unfortunately, because of the virus, we hit a very low point in our 6 years of history as to where we want to go from here. So we have been strategizing, being flexible, trying to see what will work with what we have, to keep going forward.
Right, that's very clear and laudable, Beshan. Now, you always talk about the Vega, which is the crown jewel in your achievements, if you like, as a prototype. You always talk of it as a prototype, and even at the Geneva exhibition, you said it was a prototype. Now, when are we likely to see electric cars as normal, as the norm, if you like, in Sri Lanka and the rest of the world? You know, Bentley, BMW, Volkswagen, you name it, they've all got electric cars or online.
Mhm.
So when are you likely to see that happening in Sri Lanka?
So in the last 3 to 4 years, there was at least a push to go electric with the Nissan Leafs and a few other vehicles. There were few challenges and road bumps in the way that really paused or slowed down the growth of electric vehicles in Sri Lanka. But we are seeing it catch up now. Actually, about 3 4 years ago, it was a choice to go to electric. Somebody would want to buy an electric car and not a petrol car. But nowadays, a lot of the new cars are plug-in capable, so they can go either with petrol or diesel, or use electric vehicle charger to charge their cars. And we see a lot of those people have electric vehicle chargers at home. They want to come to our chargers and charge the vehicle. So that's a very good sign, because they see the financial aspect, the value of having a reduced cost to do their travels. Now, in the future, what we will see is a accelerated growth in this area, where most of the cars will be plug-in capable. And when countries like the UK and Scandinavia move to electric only, countries like us will have no choice but to go get into electric, because the manufacturers will stop making petrol or diesel vehicles, because they will have all these constraints with the environment, with taxes and things like that. So what we try to tell the authorities and others is that no matter what you feel about electric cars, it's going to happen. And Sri Lanka has to get into this game now, or else we will face another bigger challenge when more electric vehicles come into the country and we don't have the enough infrastructure to support that.
So do you have these charge points dotted across the city of Colombo, or outside of Colombo, or outside in the rest of the country?
Yeah. So our ChargeNet company is also about 5 years old now. We develop all of the electric vehicle chargers within Sri Lanka. These are completely manufactured here. And we have over 350 chargers now installed around the country. Some are at public places where people can come in and charge. We have chargers at supermarkets, malls, apartment houses, offices, and things like that. So it's a very growing kind of a business that we have. Of course, with the current situation, things have slowed down a little bit, but it's a very interesting one as well, where we see new customers come into this picture. They never done electric vehicles before, so it's refreshing to see how the market behaves and people move into the electric segment.
Are you able to give us a prediction, Beshan, about when we will have the majority of vehicles on our roads as electric vehicles?
I think if to get to a majority, I think it would be at least another 10 years to get to that kind of a point. The infrastructure has to develop as well. Right now, with the charging, you can't go all the way to Jaffna using a public charging station. You had to go into somebody's house or a hotel to plug your vehicle. So within next 3 to 4 years, we hope to cover the Sri Lankan map, so that anybody with an electric car can go all the way to the other end of the country. I think that needs to come first before there is a large move into electric segment. So it's a very chicken and egg situation. So we are trying to find innovative ways to have a charging network that can fully sustain on its own, so we can continue to put up new charging stations.
Okay, and then the next obvious question is, when are you likely to have electric vehicles in our public transportation system? Do you think the buses, coaches, will they be electrified as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a push. There is a lot of, we talk to authorities about electric vehicle buses. The thing about buses is that even if you look around the world, governments have to spend a lot of money or invest money to get electric buses into the system, because the returns on those are very long, and the expenses are too high. So for a country like us, I don't imagine private companies, private entities would buy an electric bus versus a diesel bus, unless there is a huge difference in the regulations.
So you're thinking in the next 10 years, there will be some progress. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yes, yes, I believe so. Yes, I mean, and the government through the budgets and through their regulations must commit to electric vehicles also. Otherwise, this is not an easy thing to do. But if you look at how the world is moving in terms of the environment, the amount of pollution that we have in Colombo and cities like Kandy, where there is not much of a strong wind to take the exhaust out, we have to do something big to make a big change. Otherwise, it's going to be much difficult for everyone.
Okay, that's very clear, Beshan. Let's move sideways a little bit, and would you like to tell us something about artificial intelligence in farming? What does it really look like? These are not little metal men going around paddy fields, are they?
No, no, we haven't got into agriculture robotics yet. But uh, to take one step back, what we saw was that actually what everyone notices is that the farmers get the least amount of profit from our food cycle. They are the ones who put the most amount of time, the sacrifice, but the most, the very little profit that they get. So that's why the suicides of farmers are very high. They are in poverty. People don't want to get into farming. The kids of farmers are mostly not doing any farming work right now. So it's a very grim situation in countries like Sri Lanka. So we looked at this problem and tried to understand how technology can change this. So when you look around the world, a lot of countries like Israel, for example, they are miles ahead in terms of agriculture technology, in their greenhouses, in the software and electronics that they have done. And when you look at those solutions, their solutions were done about 20, 30 years ago. The electronics, the software is all, not new stuff. It's very old. So we wondered. We have this team. We could do the software, the electronics, and all of that. Why don't we get into this? Because there is a huge potential. We could bring new technologies that are out there and beat those 20-year-old technologies in Sri Lanka. So that's what we wanted to do. So we got ourselves a few agronomists to help us, because we have no idea about agriculture, and try to solve the problem. So this is where we tried to bring in sensors, data-driven agriculture, automated pumps and fans and things like that, to see how big data can help optimize the agriculture that we do, especially in hydroponics or greenhouse environments. So our goal is to not just automate and stop there, but to take data and use it as a big data or AI based analysis to optimize how to get the most amount of bell peppers or salad leaves or cucumbers or whatever that we grow. So we have been very successful in this, and we've been here for about 4 years now. We have multiple greenhouses around the country. We install technology. We build greenhouses. We put the seeds and the fertilizer. We help people with the management of greenhouses, as well as then buying back the produce to sell to supermarkets and our overseas vendors. So
That's a nice lead into my next question, and that is that, do you foresee a time when we will be pesticide free in our agricultural pursuits?
I I think if you are doing protected agriculture like greenhouses, then I think it can be done. It is being done in the most part of the country. But if you're doing out, open field agriculture, then I think it's a very difficult thing to do, because from my personal experience, my father has a property in Horana, where we grow tea and rubber and some other crops, and the amounts of weeds that grow is just amazing. The weeds grow within about 2 weeks. Just after the rains, it would just get covered. So doing manual labor and trying to get it out is just much difficult as well. It's very expensive. Labor is getting very expensive. So the tendency is for people to just spray the weedicides, spray the pesticides, and just get on with life. So I think we have to bring in new technologies there also, like machinery, automated, robotic, gadgets to kind of help it and bring the costs down. Otherwise, we just have to keep spraying. The amount of bugs that are out there, and how the ecosystem has changed. There are no more bees that are out there, no more lizards that used to kill the bugs or eat the bugs. It's not there anymore. So the whole world has shifted to having more bugs and issues, that it's very difficult to do agriculture in open fields without any weedicides and pesticides. So that's why we are focused on the hydroponic side of things.
Yeah, that's very clear, Beshan, and then you highlighted some of the difficulties. But let's get on to other aspects of your work here. And can I ask you, what's the single most important factor that impedes the progress of your projects in Sri Lanka?
Oh boy.
There are
So
many
if
others.
we were if we were based in the US or in an European country, I think we would have access to so many tools and other vendors who could do certain things like laser cutting or uh, specific welding or things like that. Those services are available in other countries. We being an island, it's very difficult to do innovation, because everything has to get flown over or through freight. There are a lot of regulations when you try to bring, like batteries, for example. You can't get it flown into the country. We don't have some of the natural resources, so we had to import all of them. Well, most of them. So it's very expensive, and when you couple that with um, import restrictions, with custom duties, with taxes and things like that, doing research is a very expensive thing to do in Sri Lanka. So we try to point that out to the authorities, where you have to bring the taxes and regulations down for the research people. If you are reselling them in the local market, then no problem. But the government is not making billions of rupees from people who are doing research. So that has to get accelerated. So we've been asking them for a green channel, where we get to import things at a much lower rate to do research. So that is one of the biggest problems that we have.
Okay.
Um, in terms of resources, we have the best minds in the country. Because when these youngsters go from Sri Lanka and work at Intel in the US, the work they do and the amount of money Intel makes out of them is enormous. So it's not the problem of the people that are here. The people are they have the skills, the expertise, and the knowledge or the passion to learn new things. That can be done. It's just the matter of trying to put focus and getting it together, because other countries are doing it, so
Yeah.
we should be able to do it.
Right, Beshan, you've been very clear about that. Now, in addition to this large portfolio you have of developments that you spoke about eloquently, where does research fit into your program?
I think.
Okay, so that's very clear, Beshan. Now let's get on to Beshan the man. Now, to have done such a lot of laudable work in a short time, relatively short time, you must have had somebody who influenced you a lot, who inspired you. Are you able to name some of them?
I think, like all of you doctors, my father worked really hard. He used to work from 7:30 in the morning take a 2 hour break from about 1 to 3 o'clock. He took a nap. He came home, took a nap, and then went back to work and worked until about 10:30 at night. So it gave me kind of a footing that if you want to really move something, if you want to do a real change, you have to commit yourself and really put the time and energy. And I think if I don't do that, of course, balancing it with my kids and family is also important. But for them to have a future, somebody has to step in and break the cycle. Otherwise, we will be in the same boat for the longest time. So I think my father's hard work was really important for me. My mother really brought in the sense of doing something right, doing something correctly, and being able to work with others and bring people together. I think that those things are very important also. So I think those are some of the two things.
Well, that's very nice of you to say all that, Beshan. Now, what about the future for Beshan?
I want to see these projects through and make sure that they're successful. And for these three companies, the Vega, the ChargeNet, and AI Grow, to go somewhere that Sri Lanka hasn't seen before. There are big companies in Sri Lanka have done really well in the services sector and so on. But from an innovation standpoint, from export-oriented technology, I want to see us becoming a company like Samsung, or some of the big giants in the world, where they started very small in very low resourced areas and then been able to kind of grow global. So we have big goals, we have big aspirations, and I think if we work at it, we can get somewhere.
We wish you all the best in your endeavors, Beshan. Now, one final question. Are you able to give us a sneak preview of a new project or a new product?
Um,
Only
I
for
think from a
retiredunited.com, right?
yes. I think we have been working on a electric three-wheeler for the local market. I know three-wheelers are frowned upon in from a Sri Lankan point of view, but I think we have thought of three-wheelers in a wrong way. I think it's not the vehicle itself that is the problem; it's the whole culture around it, of we using it the way it's been driven, and the kind of technology that's in it. So we are trying to change that. We are trying to see how to make the three-wheeler more safe, where it can't be driven like it's being driven today, and then really helping the environment of providing a safe, sustainable mobility around the city. So we are trying to do certain things on that end. So that would be our like a new product that we are working on to kind of push.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first on retiredunited.com, an electric three-wheeler. Beshan, I'm really grateful to you, and let me thank you from the bottom of our hearts on behalf of retiredunited.com for giving us of your very valuable time. And let me wish also on behalf of our batch, the 1975 group from Colombo, of Colombo Medics, all the very best in your future endeavors, and may you succeed. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. If I can say one more thing,
Please go ahead.
we are very open about our projects. We operate at the Trace Expert City in Maradana. And if any of you, the viewers, or you who are out there want to come, stop by, see the car, see the greenhouse that we have, or give us some ideas on how to do things better, please stop by. Very open invitation. You can find me on Facebook. My number is there. Just give me a call and stop by. We want to talk to you all who has global experiences, so that we kind of work together to move this country forward.
Thank you very much, Beshan. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will take you up on that
Very
offer.
good.
Thank you once again, and thank you very much.